Welcome to Audio Products Podcast. We are meeting with pro audio industry veterans, founders, product managers, UX designers, to learn how they build and manage the products we all love. You will get tips how to navigate your career in audio and how to develop a successful audio product. From musical instruments through audio plugins and gaming middleware up to music distribution platforms or consumer electronics like headphones, mics, and even automotive speaker systems. Enjoy. Hey, Amanda.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing great. Thank you for joining the show. I'm super happy.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I've been listening to your podcast a bit, and so it's been fun.
Nice.
I've learned a lot from it.
You know, it's always humbling to hear from people who spend their entire career in audio, you know, that they just listen here and there. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And listen, so, you know, I'm as you know, I'm really excited about chatting with you because I most of the times talk to either product managers, you know, who build stuff, or, you know, engineers, you know, so it's a lot of stuff around, you know, like the features of the product and technicalities. And by the way, I'm also I have a background in marketing. So my spirit is always with, you know, with users and marketing. So I was for a long time looking for somebody who is like experienced marketer, you know, to spill a little bit of the, how to do the marketing in for the music companies, or generally like a wider audio. So great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for getting in touch, and I'm super stoked. I've been in marketing and music tech and pro audio my entire career, and I'm a music nerd myself. So it's really kind of a fun treat for me to kind of talk about all the things.
So can you tell a little bit? I mean, I know, but I mean for the listeners, you know, what, you know, companies you work for, and you know what kind, you know, what marketing did you do for?
Yeah. So I've been, in the music technology marketing area for my whole career. And I've worked at some really, really amazing companies. I feel really lucky. I spent 12 years at Universal Audio. I was also at Roland, M Audio, as well as Splice. Pro Sound Effects is currently one of my clients. And I've also done some work at Isotope as well. So
Wow.
It's been so fun, and I've just gotten to know so many amazing people over the years, especially like on the product and design side, and it's been really awesome. So I've basically done everything under the sun in terms of marketing at this point. But I started off doing PR and brand communications for M Audio, as well as advertising. And so I definitely have like a strong background in storytelling and relationship building. So I kind of bring that to everything I do, and really try and whatever company I'm working for, whatever product we're putting out, you know, get to the story behind it and figure out what makes me light up about it. And then I know if it makes me light up, it'll make someone else light up.
Okay, got it. So maybe a cliche question, but is there like, I mean, I know I'm not if you can answer, since you like work entire career for music companies, but is there any difference in your opinion between like a music marketing and, you know, like a generally wider marketing?
Oh, for sure. So I actually did spend like 9 months outside of the industry, working for can you believe it? Right. A great company called Odyssey. They do room correction EQ for home theater systems. And so it was like just one thing over, right? From a career perspective, I miss the camaraderie of the creatives, right? I really liked being around creatives. There felt like being a creative and being around creatives and marketing creative tools to creative people, there felt like more of a camaraderie within the company and with your customer. Whereas working in consumer electronics and other types of marketing is a lot more of a transactional relationship. So, you're providing a service. you provide the service, you explain why they need it. They say, okay, I need the service. Thank you very much. And that's about the end of the relationship. Right. But what I found and what's been such the joy and challenge of working in music technology, is the customers really care about the products and the brand. It's part of their everyday life. It's part of their creative process. So there's a huge personal attachment to brands in this industry that doesn't translate to other industries. So there's some like benefits and challenges to that, right? The benefits are just more intimacy with the products and on both sides of the relationship, more long-term relationships with brands. So that really makes it fun. You can talk inside baseball about creative processes things on your social media, right? Like there's ways to talk about not just the product, but the creative process itself, which is really fun. Some of the downsides are that, if a product doesn't meet expectations, if people get really upset, right? They really, and they'll be like, well, it said it had, 96 kilohertz floating point, resolution, but it didn't. It's actually, I went and hooked it up to my spectrometer and it's actually a little less, right? They really dig into it in a way that people don't otherwise. And so you really have to be on top of your game. You have to be on top of when you do marketing, you need to be really, really know what you're talking about and know what you're doing. So, for example, one microphone I was marketing very long while ago. We were doing a photo shoot of this, lollipop microphone recording a guitar, but it wasn't put at the right axis, right? It's like a recording engineer would never put the microphone in that way, and people were calling us out on it. It's like, yeah, like as a marketer, you need to know recording techniques, right? Because your customer will know, right? So yeah, those are kind of the differences. I think a big difference too is in a lot of marketing, especially consumer electronics or toothbrushes. I could never market toothbrushes, right? It's just something I just couldn't do because I care about the products and people behind the products and the people who use them too much. And but it really is interesting because another thing is just artist endorsements in general and just the artist community being involved with brands in such a more intimate way than you would with other things. So there's a lot of really great fun things you can do with artist relations and influencer relations where you're not just showing the product, but you're showing the creative process itself.
True. I know what you mean. And I also like when you talked about this, how to say, when users get upset, it just reminded me that I'm guilty of it too sometimes. And, like I'm bitching on the forum.
Oh, the forums, dude. It is a serious thing. Live and die by the forums for sure. But, we also have to take it in stride a little bit. Like it's often a very vocal minority who have these very specific problems, and every company I've worked for really goes out of their way to address those issues as much as possible. But there's, also getting great feedback on our social comments. Oh, I love this product. It changed my life. Having people come to us at the NAMM show has always been so fun. Just being like, oh, I'm so excited to see this brand. So, yeah, people are way more intimate with the brands as well. Like, people love having swag for music brands, right? Universal Audio swag, Roland swag. I got Moog swag, Native Instruments. People love to rep the companies that they use they make their music with, and you're not going to see like a Colgate T-shirt usually.
Yeah, most of the time. True.
Yeah.
And I can see that even like when some companies are in trouble, people take it really like it's something is like is your friend
It's your
hurting,
friend,
right? I mean,
yeah, for
like
sure.
Native Instruments right now is going through the insolvency, and people, oh dear,
Oh,
gee,
yeah.
what does it mean? Of course, some of them is obviously also like a fear of what's going to happen with your ecosystem. But I mean, a lot of people just like say, oh, it's such a dear brand, right? And dear
Yeah,
group of people.
it's a part of your musical history, Native's been around for 20-ish plus years, and yeah, and that's another thing that's I really love about the industry as well, is being able to be part of these long legacies and share the latest and greatest from those places, and it's fun as a marketer to work for companies like that have such long brand history. And so having worked at those companies gave me a really big reverence for the people who make the products. And I've learned so much that like about a year and a half ago, I kind of was like, I kind of know how to do the marketing piece. So I'd really love to bring everything I've learned at these big companies to smaller ones. So that's why I started Synthesize Marketing, to really work with founders, CEOs, small companies who are still developing their brands, still developing their products, and kind of showing them the best practices and some ways to move forward that I've seen work over time. So it's been so fun. I've been able to, work at some medium-sized small companies like Pro Sound Effects, some founders, some single people companies. I've also mentored a few folks in plug-in companies to help up their marketing department game as well. So it's been such a fun experience. So I'm having a blast with it.
Amanda, so I understand that we can, to the listeners, that if somebody struggle with marketing, they can reach out to you and you can help them, right? And we can just leave the link to both to your profile and to the page in the description, right? So they know where to reach you, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, if when you talk about the people who build the products, if I can maybe add one thing to like a reflection, I spoke about it in the podcast before, but I mean, what also like strikes me that people in the industry are so humble. There are so many knowledgeable people. I mean, are really knowledgeable. I mean, some, like a PhD in engineering. Like a patents. They created like the most iconic things, and you have a guy who's just like a very, I mean. It's just like it's outstanding, right? I don't see, and I work outside the industry for quite a while. I was actually trying to build a startup, to exit and make music for the rest of my life. That was my plan. That didn't work out. But I just learned that, like the Silicon Valley kind of mentality, like poisoned so many minds. And I can see that in the music industry, it's not that, it's actually way better, right? I mean, people say, oh, this is just like tech bros with such a contempt, that's just,
yeah. And there's an interesting, and it's funny, those worlds are kind of converging a little bit in this weird way at the moment. But yeah, it bleeds over, but for the most part, as soon as you kind of touch the creator market, you can feel the difference. I mean, yeah, that was one of the things that always blew my mind, at UA. Like Dave Rossum would just like walk down there, like, right, just did the SP 1200 and just all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, hey, he's like, hey, right. And, Dave Berners is, chief algorithmist at UA and bass player, and, could be building space things, but he's like, I play bass, I want to make music. I was like, you're the best. It's awesome. I just love it so much.
Yeah. I had like the same impression when we used to launch the Bans Factory. So Andrew Sheps, the automation for Pro Tools, and he was also on the podcast before, and I was watching some of his like old interviews preparing to the episode, and he says, I sometimes have an imposter syndrome, and like people give me a project, and I just like stop and in the middle of the road, and I just have to breathe, and because I think I can't make it, I say, no shit, it's amazing. It's just like the most recognizable.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel
Makes
like a lot of people who know their stuff are the humblest, right? Because they don't have anything to prove. They're just doing it because that's what they do, right? And I love being around that.
True. Me too. So listen, I mean, you already mentioned this, and I just can't wait to pick your brain on, I don't know, like different types of marketing, right? So I know that at least in larger companies, and even at Avid, we have like product marketing, there's branding, communication, PR, etc. So can you just like maybe again, my purpose of this question is also to maybe structure a little bit and help others who would like to build their marketing departments, or like startups they'd like to improve a little bit. So what are those types of marketing, and how does it work together? How do small companies need more just one person, or this is just how do you scale marketing, so to speak?
Totally. I think like the first thing I really touch base with founders and people building products, but not quite sure yet how to bring it to market, is if they're aware of like the concept of the marketing funnel. That's really the first piece. And what the marketing funnel is you imagine a funnel, and it's the stages of the customer journey, and basically all of marketing fits within this funnel, right? And so I like to break it up into like 3-4-ish different stages. The top stage is brand awareness. So that's awareness. It's like making people aware of who you are, what your product is. So it's taking people who don't know who you are and then getting them aware of who you are. And there's different tactics you use to do that. And a lot of that is the most visible form of marketing. And founders really think of this first when they think of marketing. It's social media. It's being at an event. It's doing an ad. It's doing a video, right? That talks about, that gets people interested in your world, basically. So that's the first thing. So that's where, So there, and then once they're aware of your brand, then you kind of move on to what's called the consideration phase. So this is where people are considering buying your products over your competitors. So this is where you maybe use some of those similar channels, but you're telling a little bit of a different story. You by this point, they're in a consideration phase because they've visited your website, they've followed you on Facebook, they've given you their email address, and email is really like the most important one there. Some way to get back in touch with you to tell you, so you can tell them more information. And so in the consideration phase, that's when you teach them more about your products and who you are, right? Here are the products, here are the features. And you got to assume that they're also looking at your competitors for, how does it stack up on price? How does it stack up on features? Do I like the vibe of these people? That's all. Branding sounds like it's like a big scary corporate word, but all branding means is vibe, right? It's really about, do you have a good vibe? Do people trust you? Do people know who you are? Do they know what you stand for? And do they know if you're going to be around next month? Right. That's really a big one. And
yes.
So the consideration phase is really building that trust, and telling them the story of you and why they should enter like a business relationship with you, and why they should be part of their creative process, basically. And then the bottom of the funnel is the decision sale piece of it, and so that's when they're like, all right, they're on board, but they haven't quite added things to the cart yet, or they have something in the cart, but they haven't pressed buy. They're really wanting to buy it, but it's like, how do we get them over the edge to actually make that purchase? And so that's more like traditional sales. It's like, hey, here's a 10% off coupon, or hey, try a free trial for 14 days, right? Figuring out those sales incentives to get them over the hump to actually buy into the product. And so that's where like a lot of my career has been focused on. It's evolved over time. It's been so interesting because when I started, it was basically hardware sales, right? MIDI controllers, things like that. There was very little software sales. And Then over time, software sales came online and people were buying single purchase plugins, DAWs, all that stuff, right? And now we've even, and so those, that's like the top of the funnel piece that I learned a lot about is how to get them to buy the product. And then they use the product and thank you very much. And then you come out with a new product and then you try and get them to buy them the same way. But now a new way of relating to the customers has also come online. That's subscription, right? And so that's kind of the fourth piece of the funnel. It's like the after funnel, which is the long-term life cycle relationship with the customer. If you're doing a subscription-based product, it's not like, hey, we got this great keyboard, makes great sounds, go have fun with it. You're welcome. It's now, hey, you are now bought into a long-term relationship with this company who should be providing benefit for your creative workflow every day. And so that part of marketing, lifecycle marketing, is the part that really maintains communication with the customer, communicates new features, and stays in touch in a way that's supporting the sale that they've already made. So that's really the concept of the marketing funnel. And within that funnel are all the kinds of marketing kind of you talked about, the different channels. So, and gosh, so many have come online since I started, right? It's crazy. When I started, you found out about gear by reading the magazines and looking at the ads in the magazines. That was pretty much it, right? And then advertising came on board, digital marketing advertising, email came on board, then smartphones came, and then it was social media and mobile, right? The amount of people who buy gear and look at stuff on mobile now is pretty much the standard over desktop for sure. So that came online. And now we have, AI LLMs doing our searches for us on Google to YouTube. It's the way people get information has ballooned in such a way that it can be pretty crazy at this point. But the fundamental marketing principles haven't changed, right? What levers get people to buy a product? Those levers are, you're educating them, you're inspiring them, you're helping build a sense of community, right? You're solving a problem. Like those stories always are valid. It's just how you tell them. So to circle back, so what I talked about is the overall funnel, and then there's like a couple different types of marketing, again, depending on the product, right? If you're selling to customers, that's like D2C, direct to customer marketing. If you're selling to businesses or enterprise, that's B2B. And oftentimes companies will have a B2B and a D2C funnel, right? Selling to people, to single creators, and then selling to enterprise. For example,
media companies.
Exactly. Like Pro Sound Effects is a great example of this. They sell individual sound effects to and libraries and subscriptions to professional sound effects folks, but they have a large B2B component as well, where they have a sales team in these longer lead cycles. So
Amanda,
go ahead.
I mean, speaking of Pro Sound Effects, so if Brad is listening to us,
hi Brad, what's up?
saying hi.
Hey Brad. Yeah, I love working with Brad. He's the best. He's awesome.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So it really, the marketing team really depends on what kind of product are you selling? What are your goals? If your goal is to sell to end users, you need to have a large brand awareness play and get a lot of feet in the door. If you're doing for more enterprise level folks, you're going to be a lot more targeted. So it's less of a spray and pray approach and more of a very targeted. Here are the companies we want to go after, and developing stories that resonate really directly with them.
So let me ask if I understand you correctly. So you're saying that for like a B2C, so when you're selling to like individual creators, the like a top of the funnel and like a branding pays, I would say it's just not like maybe more important, but I mean requires more resources because you have to spread the news wider to catch more sort of people into the funnel, because the sales, probably there is actually a little smaller price, so you need to have a higher volume of the sales, where B2B, there is a smaller number of enterprises, but you need to be very targeted and
exactly. And so it's one is more of a get people in, educate them about the product, and get them to buy it quickly, right? And then build that relationship with them once they've purchased the product. Whereas B2B, you have to do a lot of nurturing beforehand, before they press buy, and those make a longer lead times, right? But the dollar attachment is a lot bigger, and both models have their advantages and disadvantages. One is you have to have a large volume coming in, and especially if you're doing a subscription based service, that churn rate, if people are churning through subscriptions, that can really hurt your business. With B2B, if you only have a few accounts, one sale can make or break your year and make or break your staff. So it's all about the kind of risk you want to take, and who you want to serve, right?
And what's your how to say, maybe a preferred market? Do you prefer to work with individuals or for establishment or not?
I really don't have a preference. For me, as a marketer, it's what is the puzzle? What is the puzzle? What is the problem we're trying to solve? I have experience in both. I have experience mostly with lots of individual creators and studios and that sort of thing. But I also have retail experience. So that's the other type of marketing, is channel marketing. So that was really fun with Universal Audio, because I got to do the software side of things with the plugins, but I also, we still do, they still do, but Apollo interfaces, guitar products, all that stuff. So working with the retailers was much more of a B2B style relationship, and
this is
getting
very
them to buy through.
Let's park. I don't want to just jump between topics, but the channel marketing is so interesting, and I can see, I very often go, it's just in a month from now, I very often go to Superbooth in Berlin, the show with a lot of gear. Yeah. And I just always hang around and ask, if I just see some really cool new, a controller or something, modular synthesizers, I talk to the founders, and always have this product, twist. So I ask questions related, what do you do? What's your plan? Not that I want to be picky, but I'm just curious how prepared I'd be. And one of the things I very often see is they have no idea yet about the retail and distribution and also a pricing. How much of the margin they will have to give away in order to build a network, especially with
that
hardware.
Margin, man.
Yeah. And actually, it was the first podcast episode of this podcast. A good friend of mine, Tomek, who has a microphone company, this is one of these microphones standing here. He was sharing the stories that they came to. I don't know how to say. I don't want to talk the entire story, but he says that he's going to US, with a group of friends. They had a conversation with the investor, and he says, so what's your plan? He said, we'll be selling mostly in the US. There's a first market, our beachhead strategy, first market US. And the guy is US, but which part of US? The entire US. And then he says, I came to Los Angeles, and I say, oh crap, it's, the Los Angeles alone is so huge, and then California. We talked about California, how big it is before the podcast.
Yep.
And then right, okay, step back. Retailers, distribution networks, right? Thomann and Sweetwater, etc. Then you need to learn your lesson.
Yeah, for sure. Retail is such an important piece, and selling. It's always, there's an interesting tension between selling direct and selling through a retailer. And each company kind of handles it differently, but there's huge advantages to selling direct. if you have your marketing funnel set up well and you have your marketing team to kind of help nurture those customers. But if you don't have a marketing department set up yet, going through retailers can be a great way to kind of get started because they have the built-in audience already where they can sell your product. That says you have to give them a cut of that product. And, but I have seen that to be really successful. But yeah, those are gatekeepers, and that's a B2B relationship, right? So, showing, retailers how reliable you are as a product, as a company, you have to, it's almost like shopping your songs to a label in a way, right? Or trying to get your book published. You have to show a level of demand to get in the door. But in order to get the demand, you have to, it's that chicken and egg piece. And the good news is so I really do feel that selling direct or building an audience and then working with retailers can go hand in hand, for sure.
But what would you recommend for startups, to start direct or dependent hardware, software as well?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the product. I would say that you can't get around building your own brands. And I think that's where product folks really kind of try and shortcut it. They're like, I have this cool product and I want to sell it. Great. But what is the story of you? Who are you? And why should okay, your product's great, but they need to know who you are, what your experience is, why they should trust the brand. And I try and encourage founders who don't have a following already to really be personable, about their brand, right? Because Universal Audio, Roland, all these folks, they're big monolithic companies. So the brand is the person. But when it's just you and a handful of people like buying stuff from who they know, especially if they're like, hey, I am a musician, creator. I've been building products for 20 years in the industry and I'm starting my own brand. And that adds credibility to your products. So not to be afraid of that, not to be afraid of showing who you are. Because otherwise you don't really have anything to hold on to. It's just a brand that they don't know. And they don't know if that brand will be around the next week. So it's like company name, founder and CEO is so-and-so, and here's your expertise. So it's like you gotta build your own following. And I see people having enormous success with doing social ads and just turning on the spigot and getting people in the door really quickly. But I'm always going to be a proponent of the organic growth because it's just a lot more stable, right? If you are using social media ads to get all your customers, what happens when they raise the price on you or when the algorithm changes? Like you don't own any of those customers. So it's making sure to get their email address and working within the community and build that word of mouth, because word of mouth is what gets people to buy the product before they even know what it is. Like the thing you want as a marketer, the response you want is a customer to come up and be like, what is it? I want it. What is it? Right? Like someone is so confident in the brand and the products this brand makes that before they even know 100% what it is, they know they want to buy it. It's
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's super interesting you say that. I just wonder if, how to say that? So I can feel that a lot of creators are a bit afraid to talk about themselves, and both my siblings are artists. My sister is a painter and my brother is an art conservator, and we talk a lot and they just like live completely like 100% from, from their craft. And
Amazing.
And I mean, it's just so hard to, especially my sister, we talk a lot, and she says, I hate talking about myself. And, I mean, I just realize when I'm just like opening a little bit and talking about my creative process and my personal life, it's just easier, and people sort of associate you with, who I am. But it's very hard because my only focus is my art, and I speak through my art, and I really don't want to be on, I don't want to buy me, like a lady because, I'm, like a, well, so to say, like a beautiful to somebody, it's just for her, it's just like a bit like a, weird. And I just wonder how does it translate, to like a creative industry? Do founders also have, like a reluctance to speak about themselves and open up, or this is, like a less common?
I mean, I find that successful brands have faces attached to them, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all human creators. And I think creative people more than most understand that products, audio products, music instruments are a creative expression as well, right? And I think that's why there's that connection between music products and the musicians themselves, because they know whoever made this is also a musician and gets them, right? And so that's like the power of that connection. I also totally understand artists not wanting to do that, right? And that's my job in a way, is to do it in a way that's true to the founder, and also encourage them to be all right with it, right? And my favorite thing is when founders and folks for the audio products get on the forums and are interacting with people. Like, just doing that will put you so far ahead of other brands, because you're building that relationship, that community, right? People always want to be a part of something. So and that's like the artist's curse, right? You make something, you make a song, you want people to hear it, so you're gonna have to tell people about it.
No, but you know what? I mean, I just like think right now that painters or visual artists are a bit different than musicians. I think sometimes musicians are a bit more, there is this like a artistic spirit, being on the stage, and there is a bit. I don't know. I don't want to sound, like I use, how to say, like improper word, but more like a stage animal, being open and extroverted. Where I can see the painters or like visual artists are more like a, hey, it's just like, I don't want me. I want, my art to speak. It's just, I'm just like a funnel, it's just, that's a.
I feel like audio products people are more like the visual artists than they are the musicians for the most part. Especially the engineers and the designers, they're like, I just made a thing because it's cool. Why do I have to talk about it? Like, here, just go buy it, right? Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, it's beautiful. When you mentioned at the beginning, I just didn't know how to sort of like relate to it, but now I understand when you talk about the storytelling, right? You're building the story. So this is, I think, what you meant, right? There is actually not just like product features and, benefits, because there are plenty of plugins that does that or this or that, but actually who you are, what your values are, what your like creative processes, etc. So people can relate to you and actually buy more from you than just like get the job done, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, that's branding. That's brand marketing. Product marketing is talking about the features and the benefits and all of that sort of thing. But brand marketing is the piece, is the telling the story of the company and building the story around the product. And I have to give a mad shout out to Eric Hansen from Universal Audio, because he really taught me how important that is, and how you can elevate a product in a way that is just something, right? So like when Apollo came out, and this is I think an important piece of for product people to understand, is what happens when you bring the marketing department and a brand person in early in the process, like in the product design process, right? Where does the logo go? What is the font going to be of the logo? What's the font going to be that's on your product? What's the packaging going to look like? If you're doing a software product, how are you communicating to customers in there? What's your tone of voice? What personality do you want to come through in your product? And that creates a visceral connection in a way that if you're just like, here is my audio interface and it does the thing, you're welcome. But but it's like, here's your audio interface and it's going to be your partner for your next 10 years in your studio. And we're treating it and showing you like why you should treat it with this care. Cause we've treated it with care. And I really do think that's how, I got to see it. I just feel so lucky to have started at UA when there were 6 people and, not 6 people in the company, 6 people in marketing. There was like, I don't know, like 70 or so but mostly engineers. Right. And I started a year before Apollo came out. And so, I got to see how Lev and Greg and the whole team, and Eric and everyone just had this beautiful interface, great design, and then just built this story around it. Real-time analog processing that has vintage plugins that just gives you color and sound and warm feels, right? It took a cold metal box and made it warm. Like how incredible is that? And over the years, how it just grew UA into talking about artistry, really focusing on artistry, the creative process, what music products can bring to your life in a way. So I've always really loved seeing those stories and it's just this unity of making a great product and spending the time to build a story around it. And I think it's really easy for when you make a product, it's like, okay, we have a product, we're going to go sell it now. But I highly encourage any person making a product to take that time to build that story and that environment. And, Apple is like the gold standard of this, right? And it makes something a lot more lasting and durable and just fun, right?
True. Although I have to admit, I recently think a lot about Apple, and I mean, especially that people on LinkedIn, are so crazy about this kind of Silicon Valley mentality. And I even wanted to write a post, like a rude post, saying, "Hey, what's the legacy of Apple? It's just like a few billions of people glued to the smartphones, right?" And I'm not sure if this is legacy. I would like to. Of course, I'm still like I'm using MacBooks as, it's just my favorite computers, and I'm crazy about like a powerful, Mac processors, etc. But I mean, I have a complicated relation with this brand, so to speak, right?
Of course. I mean, that like complicated relationship with technology, to say the least, for sure.
Oh yeah, that's probably even.
I will say something on the record, that, my job is to convince people that they need the thing to be a great musician. And the answer is you don't need anything. Like
you can clap and maybe something right? to record,
Exactly. So marketing is that kind of dark art in that sense, that it's all meant to convince you that you need a thing. And it's really up to you if you really need it. Sometimes you really do. Sometimes you don't.
But now let me place the devil's advocate. Actually, I think, that's also one of the reasons I want to be in the industry, is that there isn't such a big pressure to be, unicorn. And, there is no like a pressure to, have a 200% growth rate every year, So a lot of companies are extremely small. People say, I work at Avid. Is, I don't know, 10, 1,000 people. I don't know even, right? And it's actually, people say it's corporation, but it's obviously like a small company comparing, to, I don't know, Apple for etc. So this is how I love it. That's actually, you can you can do marketing, you can do sales, you can build amazing products, but remember we talked about Oxand. I spoke to Hannes, who will be actually on the podcast in a couple of weeks, and he says, well, we don't want to be bigger, right? I mean, that's, we're fine. We are like 20 something.
I love
people.
that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And that's been the bleed of, I call them tech music companies. I don't call them music tech companies, right? The ones that are like, we're going to make this crazy music product and we're going to get 1 million followers and just exponential growth, right? It's just, that's a very tech mentality. And it's not necessarily what I like. Because I like building something solid, right? Something solid that's going to last. And you can do that, but you sacrifice a lot of your brand, you sacrifice a lot of cohesion in the company, right? That's the thing. What you get when you grow a company slowly is the people behind it just learn how to work together so well and in lockstep, and the culture gets really tight. And so that's what makes like a tight brand, a tight product is that cohesion. If you're scaling so fast, then there's no foundation there. It's just kind of this.
And value change, I mean, you can talk about some that we have values, blah, 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 but this is no, in my opinion, the only value that is left, it's, profit, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm amazed what people write on LinkedIn. It's just, I don't know if people are so desperate nowadays because, market is so hard. But it's just like everybody's just brainwashed by, this, like a tech, like a mentality. It's just, I mean, it amazes me, right? I mean, I know that there are some common sense people as well. And a lot of people maybe off the record, they say something different. They're not that excited about, certain companies and attitudes and also like a lot of more and more people talk about the, like a sustainability, Ableton created the, like a push that has this like a replaceable, you can add more memory and the, and it's just like a science that you can build, durable product and something that can, you can change the battery or if it dies, so you can have a longer life cycle and you don't have to pollute, that's something I would just love to see more.
Yeah. For sure. And I think I think a lot of like the tech companies kind of look at the professional market and are just like, it's not enough people. It doesn't grow fast enough, but it's because they're looking at, they're looking at, on a 1 to 3 year time horizon. Yeah. But if you're looking at a 20-year time horizon, you're going to get so much more money out of the pro market than you are out of any of those entry level markets. I tell you what. So, it's fine. We do our thing, and I don't think it's going anywhere. It's definitely going to shift and evolve. I'm very curious to see how the market evolves in the next few years. But
it's interesting. And what do you think? What's your opinion?
Oh my goodness. So I think that I think hardware is where it's at. Honestly, hardware, acoustic instruments, all of that. I think there's going to be, everyone's always going to want to play music. Everyone's always going to want to hear music. So if you work at a speaker company, if you work at a mic company, if you make instruments, I think you're going to be fine, right? On the software, anything in the recorded music space and the plugin space is going to be really, really interesting. Don't know how it's going to shake out yet at all, but the big question that kind of always is swirling around in my mind is if you have a DAW that gives you generative audio and generative stems and you say, hey, I would like a, guitar, a George Harrison style guitar riff with these chords, please generate. And it gives it to you with perfect audio, right? Perfect color, perfect sound. It's like, do you care what console it was recorded through? Do you care what studio it was recorded at? Do you care? Will you buy a plugin that has this particular reverb if you can just have a computer generate it for you? I think there'll always be a place for it for professionals who want that level of control, but there is going to be, it's just a whole new a whole new persona, right? There's the professional persona, and now there's going to be this persona who
Creator, some kind of like a content creator, more like
content
a
creator, but a musician, right? And but there's always going to be a way, and that's where marketing really comes into play, is how to speak to these different people and being like, okay, yeah, you just generated this great guitar part and made a great track out of it. And showing them the steps and building the products that kind of give them that bridge to the more pro thing. It's like having those people leapfrog from, I'm always really interested in the market of moving DJs to music makers, right? Because I was a DJ and then became a music maker, right? It's like, what are the products that will help people realize like that they can have more control and bring them along for the ride?
That's a good point. That's a really nice point. That's, maybe a great application of AI, so with all like this hype, so, I think it was, who said that on the podcast, that, that it's just like with the smartphones, you can create like a few pictures with your smartphone to learn that really taking pictures can be your a dream job and become a professional photographer. And the same, you can generate something quickly with AI. And, the fun of creating something and hearing, some of your thoughts sort of turn into music and inspire you to become a, real musician and actually study music and start from, which actually, by the way, in my opinion, it's the right way to do it, right? Not start by formal education and, being just put in the box, because I met so many people who burn along the way. They went to the music school and they just started to hate music, and they never played music anymore, right? Because they can play piano professionally, but they cannot. They just they just kill the joy in the process, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just making tools that enable people to follow their passion more deeply and easily is like, that's my dream, right? I don't have a lot of hours in the week to make music, unfortunately. And so anything that can make that faster and easier for me, I'm in it. I'm excited. I want to see it. But obviously, it's a trope now. It's like, they should not replace musicians. They should enable them. And that's actually why I'm like super excited about, I'm scared about the agentic stuff. We all are, but I'm also super excited about it, because I think if AI can help me write automation over multiple tracks, I will be a happy camper, right?
Well, use
all those tedious
stuff.
Pieces.
Yeah, we use RX, and there's some algorithms in the system. It's not like a agentic AI, but we use algorithm for a while, and nobody brags about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Listen, if I can just jump back, because we just went, to so many interesting directions. No, that's great. But I'm just curious. You mentioned that when you start working with the founders, you explain to them the idea of a funnel, or you try to understand if they know the concept. And is it common knowledge, or is it something that they, many people still have to learn?
I think it's something people have to learn. I've been actually pretty surprised that more people aren't. Once I explain it to them, it's like it inherently, but understanding the framework is really helpful. And I think it really helps me explain to them, because my strategy usually is talk about the funnel, and everyone's like, we want to get brand awareness. We want to get people in the door. But I actually focus on the bottom of the funnel first and then build out, right? Imagine if you're starting a company, you have a product, and you want to, capture all these people to build a relationship with them. If you don't have the sink built and you turn the faucet on, where does all that go? It's leaky. It's called a leaky funnel. You make a very leaky funnel that way. So you need to build these mechanisms to capture those leads. And an important way of doing that is a few things technically. Having a website, right? So having a place people can buy it, having a website that tells the story of your company, who you are, who your products are. An email capture is critical, and having a story to tell them when they give you your email. And you see this when you sign up for a new service. It's welcome to service. Let's show you around. And then you get this, it's called a welcome nurture flow, where you get 5 to 7 emails explaining how to use the product or intro to the company. Oftentimes, if you haven't purchased something, they'll give you a little coupon at the end to like buy it, right? So having those email stories in place, having customer support, obviously, tutorials, information is like so key. And so having all of that, and then having your analytics in place.
Yes.
When I started, marketing is kind of liquor and guessing, and now it's a little more scientific. So, analytics are really important. Depends on the, what you're selling, which ones you do. If you're doing a subscription, it's how much monthly recurring revenue do you have? What's your churn rate? A big one is the cost of acquisition per customer, right? So how much does it cost for you to acquire a customer? Will help you understand, you compare that to how much it costs to how much you make, right? To acquire a customer, you want to spend less than what the cost of the product is, obviously. So those are so thinking of it from a very data-driven perspective is I think a really critical part in setting up that infrastructure to do that before you turn it on too much and slowly start to bring more people in to get signal. And people also think marketing is like you just do it and it's done in a way, but and I see this a lot with developers and founders and product makers. Like they're very excited about making the product. So they make the product, they put it out, and then they want to go make another product, but they have to sell the product that they currently have, as well to get the money in to bring the product. And some founders are more interested in marketing than others, right? And so that's why I think it can be really helpful to have someone who likes marketing and selling stuff. If you're a founder or a product person that doesn't like to sell stuff, that's great. Find someone who does, because they'll have a ball with it and you can go back to making products. That's
a good point. But listen, what analytics tools do you recommend to founders? I mean, which one do you use, and which are like essential and which are sort of nice to have?
Yeah, totally. So it depends on the company, right? But you need your e-commerce platform. You can get a ton of great data from your e-commerce platform. So that's really important. Having the email is really important as well. Google Analytics really is kind of the one I've used the most, and is kind of the gold standard for seeing traffic to your site, seeing how people move through your site, and see where people come from, right?
Can I just look at,
because you can literally
one remark, you touch on the sensitive point. I'm just having recently trouble filtering out the internal traffic on the Google Analytics, and I always oh geez, how can I just there's actually a couple of people writing on the, by the way, to our newsletter and doing marketing on our own team, and then I can see that the statistics are polluted by our internal, traffic. So I say, oh, there is such a huge traffic. And then I dig deeper and I say, oh, no, it's actually me and the team. And I was always so excited with such a, nice traffic. And so are there any ways, sorry to go to the detail.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, everything is customizable, and that's really that's the edge of my expertise, right? It's I work often with devs who have that kind of data and analytics experience to pull certain queries, to do those filters, and to set up the site in such a way that you can kind of move out some of that. And also something else to think about too. I mean, when you have small amount of traffic, it's going to be tricky, right? to get good signal. The more traffic you have, you can kind of start seeing a bigger picture. And something also to keep in mind is not necessarily to look at attribution and metrics as like hard numbers, but trends over time. So the biggest advantage of it is to set a benchmark and then have something to work towards. It's like our conversion rate is 2%. We want to get our conversion rate to 4%, and then following it over time to see how much it's better. It's like, with marketing, you're really competing against yourself. You really are just trying to do better every time. And it's gotten to be a very scientific art in many ways. And it's kind of fun in that way, because you can actually see sales go up. Like it's been so fun working with a founder and, them doing no marketing. Then we do a marketing campaign and like literally seeing the sales bump that happens from it. And explaining and before he was doing a lot of sales, right? It was just sale. And then as soon as the sale was over, no sales, sale, no sale. And then I said, well, let's not do as many sales, and let's do more brand marketing. Let's do more word of mouth, like building a buzz and a vibe around the company. And then you could see it in the graph, the noise floor raise. So there was even when there wasn't a sale or a product release, they started getting a few purchases every day. And that's what brand and like consistent marketing gets you, is a higher noise floor and a more consistent customer base. The biggest mistake I see is everyone, and this is just the race to the bottom with our current economy in the morning at the moment, but it's just using sales to drive traffic. That's like the worst thing you can do from a long-term perspective.
Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate what you mean by that?
Yeah, using sales to using like promotions to drive sales.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's like
Right, because when you do that, you're conditioning people to wait to buy your product until it's on sale, which reduces the perception of how valuable your product is. It's so really showing, and that's what good marketing can get you, is positioning your product as a valuable product, no matter when you buy it. Right. I think Serum does this really well. They're just like, we just never put our product on sale. It's always this price. And so they have a nice, consistent round of purchases that's driven by word of mouth, by a happy, loyal customer base.
This is very interesting. Everybody, I stopped buying anything outside of the sales, just like a
Black Friday, right?
Or like a summer of sound in Native Instruments, or Steinberg has this, I don't know, like April or something. Just like got some updates, so I'm always wait.
Yeah.
And recently I wanted to update DaVinci Resolve, and I just say, for the like a video editing for a colleague who is doing the post-production of the podcast, and I say that we don't have sales. It's just like, the price. Occasionally they have 10% here and there, but there is just like always like a flat price. It's, by the way, it's pretty competitive. It's really nice, for such a beast, to pay, I don't know, $250 or something. It's just like, wow, you have a full video, editing. By the free version is already so powerful that you can run for years. But we don't do sales, and then that's they already like I think, the like you said, the market was changed so much that people have these habits, and they no longer look at it's just like like a vicious circle. Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle, and our industry is at the bottom of it right now. It's bad. Like, it's real bad. So, that advice always goes against the grain. And it's like, oh, well, we have to do a sale. Everyone else is doing the sale. It's like, you can, but also you don't have to do as many sales as you think you do. If you can show value in the product itself, like, you're a gem, don't discount it. You worked really hard on this. Right? You don't have to put your product on sale as much as you think you do. Doing a Black Friday sale, fine. But it's like, the more you condition people to wait, your sales is just going to get choppier and choppier. And people have a long memory. It's really hard to untrain people to wait for a sale. So just don't start, right? Just be very, very careful before you start injecting promotions into your things. It's really hard to come back from.
Interesting point. But isn't that related also to the market being saturated? Because, there is actually like a plenty of everything. And,
yeah,
I actually wanted to ask this question. How do you recommend doing marketing when there is, so much competition and, there's actually like a voice editing, 20 voice editing plugins, you can actually have, 100 of different other virtual instruments and, like 10, 15 different flagship synthesizers, all completely crazy, right?
Right, right.
How to.
Yeah. The saturation of the market is a big thing, right? And I'd like to say it's going to get better, but I don't think it's going to get better, at least in the short term, right? The ability to code and build your own software, especially, is just getting easier and easier. But here's the thing. That's where branding is so important, right? And telling your story of who you are as a company is so important, right? Because there's going to be all these people who are, if you're new to this, you have to differentiate yourself beyond just the product, right? Finding and a way to explain why your product is different is going to be huge. But the war of attention is real. So having compelling videos, having compelling stories, having compelling connections in a way, that's where content is so important to and working with artists, right, that people know and love, and being able to show it in a unique way. You can't just say, "Hey, I have a compressor, come get it." You can't just open up a shop. You have to build that story around it.
But still, like everybody talked about literally every single plugin, this plugin company, I don't know the other, there's a consumer audio or etc. But they just, they have always like some artists, etc. So it's still like so much messaging. Even I follow certain few pages or algorithms show me, it's just always some kind of testimonial. This mixer does this mastering engineer does that, so it's just like, I no longer care because it's just like, it's all the same messaging, right?
And,
so how
and
to
break it through? Really speaks to the best, like, what are the tools that you use? Usually someone's told you about it, right? That's where word of mouth is so important, and building community is so important, because your customers are your biggest advocates. So keeping happy customers is the number one way you're going to have success. Because if someone grabs your product, uses it, loves the experience with the company, they'll be like, how much people talk about what plugins they use, like ad nauseum, right? It's just like, dude, I got this great new plugin, you should check it out. And oh man, I've been using this on my mixes for like 2 years, right? It's great. You don't have that? Oh, you got to get, like, that's where that's going to be the thing that drives it at the end of the day. The rest is supplementing that piece. So, true. And also something that's important, I think, for people to know is it takes 6 to 9 times to hear about something before you consciously register it. Okay. Yeah. So that's really, like, marketing is a game of repetition. So, if you're marketing your product, you may think you're just talking about it till you're blue in the face and everyone must be sick of it. But the thing is like, once you're sick of talking about it, that means people are just catching on, right? Because you need someone to tell you about the product and how much they like it. Then you need to see an ad. Then you need to, like, follow them on social media. Then you need to, like, go to a trade show and see it there. And then after like 5 or 6 times about hearing about the product or the company, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should check them out, right? And that's that's when they enter the consideration phase, basically. So it's repetition and coming from lots of different places. And yeah, it's a societally it is not the healthiest, right? Because we're barraged with marketing messages every day for products that we will never consciously even remember, but it's all there subconsciously. So anyway, that's the repetition game. So I think having a person, like if you have a product you want to sell, having a person who has experience in sales and marketing, I think is really important. Because they kind of know these principles, they kind of live and breathe it. And having a marketing budget, right? Like investing in marketing, in creating content, creating a website, advertising. You're going to need a graphic designer, most likely, and a video person, most likely.
And how much time does it take? I mean, I just learn. I mean, I'm a marketing, by education, but I mean, just now doing the platform is already and it's just meetup and the podcast and the newsletter is just a three of us plus few friends writing, and it's still we have, and we are using AI. Yes, we're just leveraging some of the, at least the less interesting stuff, and it's still not enough. I mean, and especially
you're gonna pay with AI one way or the other. Like you're either going to have super generic content generated by AI very quickly that does not help differentiate your brand from all the other people, or you are going to spend the time to time or money building it yourself. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, and this is, honestly, really generic rule of thumb for me in terms of once a product, how long does it take to bring a product to market? If you're doing a really textbook job at it, I found the most success is 4 to 6 weeks of planning, budgeting, positioning, what's the story we're going to tell, building all that. 4 to 6 weeks of asset creation, and then 4 to 6 weeks of promotion, right? So it's
You mean a product launch, so you're just launching new product.
So 4 to 6 weeks of planning, 4 to 6 weeks of building all the assets, getting ready for the launch, and then you have the launch day, and then a 4 to 6 week campaign afterwards to get the word out, because that repetition is what's going to get you the sales. You can't just say, hey, it's out, and then never talk about it again. The consistency of staying top of mind is the most important part to success in marketing. So it's thinking about what you're going to say, building the things you're going to say and how you're going to say it, and then saying it. They're really the three big pieces.
But is it? From what you are saying, I would imagine that initially startups should work probably with either freelancers or, having how do you call it, a fractional leader you to help them, because I don't see anybody could build a marketing team of its own from the get-go. Maybe if they have, I don't know, a big budget or something.
Yeah, it's a whole other discipline, right? And you can get pretty far with ChatGPT and yourself, but there's a lot of nuance and storytelling that has to go into it. So if you really love building videos and being on social media and doing all that stuff, great. But it's also and there's also something that's really important in marketing about having someone to bounce ideas off of. You're not going to come up with the best stories and ideas by yourself, right? So that's what's been fun about working in marketing is we have these big brainstorming sessions and what about this idea? What about that? What about this? Or what if we, it is a very creative process, which is really cool. So, I mean, if you're a founder who has a very particular aesthetic and storytelling muscle, great. But if you don't, then working with freelancers is great. And there's so many great freelance graphic designers out there, freelance copywriters, freelance content creators, people have been in this
Sure.
industry for a long time who really know what they're doing. There's so many great people on YouTube that make content and can help you, and you give them here's the product, go tell a great story, give them some money, and a week later you'll have a finished, polished 2-minute social video, right? It's great. And it'll guaranteed it'll resonate more than an AI one for sure.
Absolutely, that's for sure. That's it's just, I know, videos and graphics. It's just like oh, gee, it's just, and the language, you cannot just here is why, and you can see, in conjunction of, there's like two phrases that, and I just it's so easy to spot.
It's not.
I mean, the language.
It's not a guitar. It's a revolution. Please don't do that.
And here's why.
Here's why. Exactly.
Listen, I mean, I know we have to sort of slowly coming to an end, but I mean, we're just talking about the startups, but scaling the marketing, so, let's imagine that we have already a pretty stable sales and new products in the pipeline.
Great.
There is already let's say, some kind of stability. So, if you were to advise somebody how to scale marketing, so how to be, who to hire, how to sort of, not to make the mistake of, how to say, paying for the skill this is not the most critical at this given time, or what kind of a team you would imagine having.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think first having someone who understands marketing and can wear lots of hats is really good. I think to start, it's really having someone who understands how to build the infrastructure and all of that. And once you have a marketing engine going, I think paid advertising is a great way to supercharge things. But so honestly, content creation. So someone who can, I'd say the most critical hires from a brand. There's so many, right? I'm what about this? What about this?
Yes.
What about this? So I mean, graphic designer, definitely need one of those. Email marketer, very important. Social media person. So this person would be they could create. Finding someone who can create content and post content is always really a great one. But yeah, someone who can make videos, YouTube videos, and understand the social media landscape and how to drive awareness is a huge piece. And so, yeah, it's having a content marketer, someone who can do videos, write blog posts, really do the engine of the organic content and social media, and then having more of a demand generation person who could do ads, who could watch the email CRM stuff, and keep an eye on the numbers and the return on ad spend and make sure. So it's having a numbers person and someone who understands the technical side of marketing, and then having a creative person. Those are the two sides you really need. And honestly, it's working with the person and understanding what their strengths and weaknesses are is number one. And then finding another person to kind of fill in those gaps. Because I find that's what I found with marketing is it's about the mind. It's about if this person can think outside of the box, if this person is creative, likes learning new tools, because there's new tools in marketing coming on board all the time. Yeah, and just a willingness to experiment and just keep it going, basically, if that makes sense. So totally. Yeah, exactly. So,
and listen, you mentioned also that at the very beginning that what you learn in the large companies like Yamaha or speaking of Roland. Sorry,
okay.
Guys, we love you both actually. At Roland or other bigger brands, you are trying to sort of how to say, disseminate and in the startup community. So if you what those big brands, do, or what kind of how the marketing look like in the larger established companies?
Yeah, totally.
And what's
Yeah,
actually
totally. That's a great way to frame it. It's like in these bigger companies, there's one person who just does emails. There sometimes two. There's one person who does all the socials. There's one person who makes all the videos. There's one person who um, uh, just looks at all the analytics and does the back end stuff. There's one person who does all the PR and brand communications piece. So it's like you get more specialized pieces. And there's usually someone, so those are the people who like manage the different channels of marketing. And then there's usually these kind of linchpin positions. Usually there's a person who does product marketing. So they're the ones, or marketing managers, depending on how they're, how it's kind of positioned. There's usually like a product marketing manager. And so they're the person in charge of launching the product, basically. So I've been in this position at Splice and a few other companies as well now. And they say, okay, here's a product. We want to bring it to market. And this person basically comes up with the messaging, like what story are we going to tell, and communicates that to all the other people in the team. Like, okay, social person, here's the product. Here's what we're going to say on social. Okay, retail channel, here's what we're going to go say. And making sure like all the assets and are in place. The graphics are made, communicating the product to the graphics team. It's like, okay, here's the product. How are we going to tell this story visually, right? How are we going to tell this story verbally? How are we going to tell this story? How are we going to, what emails are we going to send our customers?
Strategy.
So it's like you're developing the whole big picture strategy. And then the people who handle those individual pieces are the ones building it, and they send it to you. It's like, oh, how about this? It's like, oh, well, I think we should change this messaging here, or maybe we should take this email and break it out into two more to tell a better story. And then that product marketing person, once the launch is over, gathers all the metrics and looks at how did this all perform? How did we do on social? How did the emails do? How much did we sell? How many people watched the video? How did our ads perform? And then report that to the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, and be like, here's the result of our launch. And then looking at that against the forecast, looking at that against how did we think we were going to do, and identifying ways to improve the process or the message the next time around. And so that's one thing so that's product marketing from my experience, although the discipline changes depending on the company. And then brand marketing is a little less about the product launches themselves, but more about the story of the company. And that person is really in charge of how's our website look? What's our are we getting any stories out to about our CEO this quarter, right? How are our investors liking things? And understanding, does our product launches and everything we're saying fit in the overall container of like what we stand for and our values and things like that. And brand marketing obviously touches the outside part of it, but also touches the inside of the company. There's a component of brand marketing working with the HR department,
employer branding,
to making sure that like the swag looks right and that the brand company values are reflected in how we work internally within the company as well.
And how about the product managers' roles?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the product launches and product marketing. What's your, like from your experience, the relation between like a product guy, Brad, hello, and the marketing, so what's the a sort of ideal scenario from your perspective, especially like the product launches,
Yeah, for sure. Again, it really depends on the company. Sometimes product folk develop more messaging and storytelling, and then hand it off to marketing. But my preferred way is the product person tells us about the product, and like shows us what it is, and then we kind of like, and it shows what's the most important part of it, and then marketing kind of shapes the story and then shares it back with the product guy, be like, here's the story we're planning on telling. And then product plays a really important role as marketing is developing the videos, all the materials for the launches, the web copy, for example, the product page, to have that product person see and make sure that we're presenting the product accurately. Right. Marketers can be liars sometimes, and I don't like to be a liar, but sometimes, might exaggerate a piece of the product that actually, no, it doesn't actually work that way. It works this way.
And
right?
I remember what you mentioned at the very beginning, especially in our
So,
industry, it's important actually to, sometimes not to go too much, right?
Exactly. Like left to a marketer's like own devices, they might start making wild claims about it does this crazy thing in the kitchen sink, and it's like, no, actually it doesn't, because our customers will call us out on it, right? So it's a really, really important partnership. There's also a huge amount of responsibility, I feel, as a marketer for with the product people, because like the product folks, like this is their baby, this is their they've spent years on this, right? And so I really want to make sure we're showing it in the best light and giving it the time and attention it needs. And that's something I always like to tell product folks is, I know you're really excited to get this out there, but you've worked really hard on it, so give us the time to get it out right, so we can really do it the best job we can. Because oftentimes what can often happen is product slips, right? Because things slip. But then
the release date, yes, already like a...
say the release date stays the same, but the product slips. And then they wonder why the launch didn't, couldn't be as good as it was. Well, that time is actually very much needed to do it right, so don't shortchange marketing. It's the hard part about marketing is you're at the end of the chain.
But it shouldn't be.
So,
it shouldn't be. I mean,
we want to make
I always
numbers.
like my small mission with the podcast is always to I'm talking about the, let's say, product teams and generally like a product management in my how to say that I'm just trying to say that to me, product-led company is not led by product manager. It's just like this entire multidisciplinary team of, QAs, marketers, even, I spoke recently with a colleague who is you may know Ian from Universal Audio. I'm not sure you work there who is like a QA lead right now in Universal.
I don't know. Oh, Ian, I love Ian.
Hello to him as well. And he said, that's, one of the missions I had was actually to say, change the perception of quality. So it's not like at the end, we're just fixing bugs, but actually making quality into a product from the very beginning. And, the same when you're talking about the marketing, it just made me
100%.
realize that I just, when I think of the, like a product-led company, is this like a major process that everybody sits, in the table together, and we are crafting both like a design and the messaging, and, which obviously like maybe product guy is this one who takes the sort of problems from the market and trying to bring, hey, this is what we are trying to, solve. But then we collaboratively, as a team, come up with the solution, which is obviously both the technology part and the messaging part and the quality part and the design part and the et cetera, right? And especially hard nowadays with remote and distributed teams. And even today, like an hour before we recorded the podcast, I spoke to a friend. He's actually showing me some tips about, like a productivity tips with AI. And we just realized that I told him a joke. Listen, with AI, actually people are now even write more, how to say, I mean, the relation between people is even more broken because, it was easier when the entire team, sat together in the same room or the same office. Now we're just working remotely. And right now people, instead of talking to each other and bouncing ideas, they're talking to a chat, right? And trying to bounce ideas with chat.
Yeah, it just doesn't work well that way. It's like I feel like you can get most of the way there with a Zoom call, but trying to do this stuff async it just doesn't work very well.
But you see, I'm just also saying that that people tend to right now to to have a AI as a sparring partner rather than a second person. And the side effect, I don't even talked about the quality of what AI is giving back, but I'm also talking that let's say this like a common vision and like the relations and culture can be only built when we talk to each other, right? And if you sort of completely like how to say, desynchronized because everybody works in their own small like a silo. Even if there are two people, you can completely get disconnected, right? Because everybody has like their own ideas. But I did this, and AI told me this, or that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have AI over there being like, yeah, your idea is the best one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a.
They don't know what they're talking about.
That's a good one. I just create the prompt, so we don't know what your ideas are the best,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, a product-led company, I mean, I kind of really feel that most creative tool companies need to be product-led, right? Because that's what's like so important. And the product-led companies, they do it great. It's just but I think to your point, being a product-led company doesn't mean not building a vibe around the product.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly my understanding too, So there is not like a beginning of the chain and the end of the chain, but we sit together and we actually come up with something, which is when I teach some product management, I always share this like 3 layers of product, if you know what I mean. It's like the core benefits and like augmented benefits. And, like this, I don't know the third layer, what's the name of it, but I'm always trying to explain that, it's just, as a product manager, you can't think of, like a feature and etc. You have to think that, you have to put the right, like a warranty and, like a delivery process and, and messaging. And so that's why you need to work with, all these people around you are, they're just like we are one team. There is nobody like a, beginning of the end of the chain. Of course, there is like some kind of delivery chain, right? But I mean, everything should be actually so the sooner you get everyone on the same page, better the product and more sort of consistent and successful will be.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think like that's I think like the most ideal relationship between product and marketing is having a lot of, I mean, the best product launches are when I could like go out to lunch with the product managers when we had time to do that. We would just hang and share ideas, but, marketing having respect for the product and taking the time to build the story around it, and getting that input from the product managers for sure. And then, product giving marketing that time and support to build that out. And that's like a level of trust that you just have to build between the people and be like, just trust we're on it. We're going to do right by your product, and marketing trust that product will give them the time and the resources, prototype units, right? So they can do shoots with it, having the GUI and the features locked on time, right? Those are the things, because you need 4 weeks to make a video. So you really do need feature lock 4 weeks before launch. Like those are things that, or like having your presets done on time. Like these are the things that make marketing's job so much easier. If you're dropping feature changes a week before we're supposed to go to market, like that's a hard spot to be in. So
love thy marketer.
Love thy marketer. We're doing the best we can. It's really hard. There's a lot of moving parts.
Listen, that's an amazing conversation, and I mean I have so many more questions, but I don't want to.
Well, we can
exactly.
come back. I'll come back.
Let's
We'll
do
more.
the like
That's
a
great.
vol 2 and I really appreciate you joined the show, Amanda. And for the listeners, of course, check out the description. There is like a link to Amanda's profile, so you can, if you need some advice and help, of course, reach out, right?
Yeah, please reach out to me, Amanda@synthesize.marketing. And I'm on LinkedIn. Come on
Great.
by.
And
Say
so
hi.
Amanda, so looking for the another round, and hopefully we'll see each other at some show, right?
I'd love that. I don't know if I can make Super Booth this
Yeah.
year,
I also
but
like
next
the same
year,
thing.
it's on
I
my
mean, I
list for
couldn't
next
make
year.
to NAM this year. It's just like it was so intense with the podcasts and like an avid job in the morning, doing podcasts in the evening. So I say, hey, what time of the day I can do, still find to
Feel ya.
and to yeah.
Feel ya for sure. Cool. Well, thank you again so much
Thank you
for
so
having me.
much.
This has been so much fun.
See you. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you liked it. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and of course on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to it and hit the bell, because we publish a lot of interesting videos there, not just the episodes. You can also become a supporter and get premium content like additional reading, unpublished videos on our Buy Me a Coffee page, linked in the description of this episode. See you in the next one. Yo.